Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. We now have all the cards from the upcoming Rise of Shadows expansion, and now it's time to start theory crafting. In this video, I'm going to take a look at Rogue. I'll take a look at the Rogue class cards, the most relevant neutral Rogue cards, and a number of complete theory crafting decks for various Rogue archetypes that can be good in the upcoming meta. Overall, Rogue is getting support for multiple teams. Rogue seems to be one of the most versatile classes in Rise of Shadows, because there's support for like Thief Rogue, there is support for this Togwaggle is a build-around card on its own, there's support for shuffling stuff back into your deck, Whisker, Daring Escape, Togwaggle Scheme, so support also for Pogo Rogue. And we must also not forget about pirates. Rogue still has plenty of pirates. So the future of Rogue looks pretty bright. Looking at these cards, now that we have the full set, Daring Escape, return all friendly minions to your hand. Fairly potential bounce, but it's one-sided, so it's only a friendly minion, so you have to be able to make sure that you don't accidentally die by just bouncing all your own stuff too much. But very cheap card, so interesting. The new Rogue weapon in this expansion is Waggle Pick, 4 mana 4/2 with a death rattle. To return a random friendly minion to your hand, it costs 2 less. This can be used in some ways. Raiding Party is an important tutor, and you want to tutor a weapon with Raiding Party. Kingsbane, Shadowblade are going away. So you have Necrium Blade right now, and in some decks you might want to use Waggle Pick. But Waggle Pick does have its downsides too, because let's say it gets oozed away, for example, and you can't control the minion that it's sent back to your hand. You might get something that doesn't have any value back to your hand, so it might not always work out. Then there's Underbelly Fence. At best this can be a 2 mana 3/4 with Rush, so simply an incredible card for Thief Rogue. Technos Whisker, whenever you shuffle a card into your deck, add a copy to your hand. Pogo Rogue support at least. Some really interesting stuff. Maybe you could even shuffle like Togwaggles with Togwaggle Scheme and get a bunch of Togwaggles in your hand, and then the world is about to explode or something. Vendetta, deal 4 damage to a minion, cost 0 if you're holding a card from another class. Very, very powerful tempo tool for Thief Rogue, just an incredible card. Unidentified Contract, I expected this to be a really strong card, and maybe it can still be, but I have a hard time fitting this into my decks somehow. Destroy a minion gives a bonus effect in your hand. That's not a bad card, but we'll have to see a little bit on how it fits in the decks exactly. And this one is just crazy. Henge Clan Burglar, 4 mana 4/3 pirate, Battlecry discover a spell from another class, so Thief Rogue support. And it's a pirate, so you tutor it with Raiding Party, just crazy card. And Hearthstone Togwaggle, of course, this is an insane card. 6 mana 5 for Battlecry, if you control a lackey, choose a Fantastic Treasure. And Fantastic Treasures are the Marrying the Fox treasures, they're all extremely powerful, that's crazy. Togwaggle Scheme, choose a minion, shuffle a copy of it into your deck, add upgrades, so Pogo Rogue support, maybe for some other archetypes. And then the Rogue Lackey Generator, Evil Miscreant. 3 mana 1/5 combo, add 2 random lackeys to your hand. Most likely going to see use in Togwaggle decks, but not sure if it goes anywhere else. Overall though, Rogue got a very nice set of cards. These support several different archetypes, and all of them will fit in very nicely into those archetypes. As for the neutral cards, the most important for Rogue are these 3. There's Barista Lynchen, 5 mana 4/5 Battlecry, add a copy of each of your other Battlecry minions to your hand, especially for Pogo Rogue. Great for some Pogo copying. Evil Cable Rat, Battlecry, add a lackey to your hand. Now we have all the lackey generators. So we know that there's one lackey generator for all of the classes that use lackeys, and there's one neutral one, which is this one. And because you really want to have that lackey synergy for Togwaggle, so if you're playing Togwaggle Rogue, you probably play both Evil Miscreant and Evil Cable Rat in order to ensure that you have a lackey. And then another interesting one is Chef Nomi. I didn't put this into any of my theorycrafting decks, but I was tempted to. Battlecry, if your deck is empty, summon 6/6/6 Greasefire Elementals, so the synergy with Myra's Unstable Element is definitely there. You prep Myra's, then you can play Myra's into Nomi on the same turn. That's just very solid. But on the other hand, you don't do anything with Nomi unless you have that Myras. So I was a little bit skeptical and hesitant to put it in my decks because of that reason. But it's definitely a card that I expect to see experimentation in Rogue. But I would expect that you're not here to take a look at the cards, you're here to take a look at the decks. So let's take a look at 4 decks that I theorycrafted for Rogue today. Okay, I lied. I only theorycrafted 3 decks today, because this is my Mech Pirate Rogue. It doesn't use any new cards. Looking at the new cards, I did not want to put any of the new cards into this deck. I felt like this deck is good, just the way it is. There's a full guide on this channel for this deck, so you can check that out, and it's just a very solid deck that overcomes the loss of Wildspine Slayer with the Light Nozzle Crawler, and overcomes the loss of Shadow Blade with the Necreum Blade, and these synergize together, and Celiax can magnetize, and then there's a Nightmare Amalgam, which is a pirate, so it can be tutored with the raiding party, and it can come out of Hook Tusk, and then you can magnetize Celiax onto that too. Just a flexible, good old Tempo style Rogue deck. But I assume you want to see some new stuff too. So, Tempo Rogue. Tempo Rogue is getting some interesting new cards, because it's getting the Underbelly Fence, and it's getting the Vendetta. And these are very, very tempo-oriented cards. Very great tempo cards. So, Thief Rogue is kind of at a crossroads. There are 2 paths that you can take with Thief Rogue. You can take it to that classical path with Vanishes, with Tess Greymane as the finisher. Just playing for the long game, playing for the value, winning with just the cards that you get from the opponent's class. However, for this theorycraft, I chose another path, perhaps because Thief Rogue has not been very successful doing the slow thing, and the new cards promote a more tempo approach. So this is a more tempo approach Thief Rogue. I mean, it still uses Spectral Cutlass. There's 1 copy of Academic Espionage in this build. And there's a raiding party that you can use to tutor Spectral Cutlass. It can tutor Burglars, Dread Corsairs, Captain Greenskin. So lots of weapon synergies around these cards, and there's also that Discover effect. So if you can get your raiding party, you're probably going to find a Burglar, which means that you are able to find a card from another class, because Burglar discovers a card from another class, so you can find a card from another class even in a Rogue mirror. And then that enables your Underbelly Fence to be a 3-4 rush, and your Vendetta to be a 0 mana, deal 4 damage to a minion. Of course, if you're not in a Rogue mirror, then you can have like Blink Fox turn 3, and that can turn your Vendetta to cost 0, so you can play Blink Fox Vendetta both on turn 3. In addition to raiding parties, there's a Myra's Unstable Element for card draw, and you can also avoid fatigue if you haven't found your Espionage yet, and you play Myra's, and if you can find the Espionage, then you can play that one and have some 1-drops that you can draw from your deck afterwards. There's also Leroy Jenkins, some burst damage. This sort of tempo approach to Thief Rogue. But there is also the alternative path to build it with Vanishes, build it with Tess. And then it's a little bit of a question, is there room for Underbelly Fence? Is there room for Vendetta in that sort of a slower type of Thief Rogue? It becomes pretty difficult to fit everything in. But if there's no room for those, then can it really succeed, because it has not succeeded before? I mean, the 1 new card that it's guaranteed to play, it's the Henge Clan Burglar. And that's a good card. But I still felt like going with Tempo is a little bit better option. We'll see once we get to actually play the decks. Then there's the Togwaggle Rogue. Heist Baron Togwaggle, that effect is so powerful. So basically, Heist Baron Togwaggle can also be considered like a package. It's Togwaggle, the Evil Miscreant, Evil Cable Rat. It's a 5-card package. You might be able to cut it down to like 4 cards, go with 1 Cable Rat. And if you cut it down to 4 cards, then maybe you can fit it into a deck with Hook Tusk, so there's definitely room for evolution here. But I chose to build this deck around Togwaggle, just the Togwaggle, and all sorts of Battlecry minions mostly, except for the Dread Corsair. So raiding party here, tutors for Wagglepick, and it tutors for the pirates, of course, Henge Clan Burglar, Dread Corsair, Captain Greenskin. So most of these things in this deck have battle cries. So when you waggle pick and you bounce some stuff back into your hand, you can play them again, use the battle cries again. There's double Shadow Step in this deck, so you can use that. Shadow Step Leroy can be a finisher. You can even Shadow Step your Hearthstone Togwaggle, so that you can play Togwaggle twice and get 2 treasures. There's preparations in this deck, so that you're more likely to be able to play Togwaggle and prep out the treasure, for example. There's a lot of these battle cry combo synergies, lots of cheap spells too. Not really fitting in Togwaggle as a package into some other deck, but building a deck completely around the Togwaggle and using the Waggle pick as well. But it's good to keep in mind that Togwaggle can also be used as a package in another deck, so we'll see how it turns out overall. And finally, perhaps, maybe, just maybe, Pogo Hopper Rogue. Maybe it can be made to work. Pogo Hopper, a 2-mana mech that gains more health and attack more times you have played Pogo Hoppers in the game, so this deck is all about finding the Pogo Hopper. There's Witchwood Piper, which is 100% tutor for Pogo Hopper in this build. And then it's all about coping Pogo Hoppers, bouncing Pogo Hoppers, shuffling more Pogo Hoppers into your deck. And then just having big Pogo Hoppers. You can magnetize Gatekeeper, Ziliax on big Pogo Hopper. And from there. Especially nice in this one is the combo Tack Nosewhisker. You play that, you play Pogo Hopper, and then you Togwaggle Scheme the Pogo Hopper. Then you shuffle a bunch of copies of Pogo Hopper into your deck, and you get as many Pogo Hoppers into your hand as well from Tack's effect. So then you can just keep playing more and more Pogo Hoppers. That's really all this deck is about. Find your Pogo Hopper, play a lot of Pogo Hoppers, copy, shuffle, bounce Pogo Hoppers, survive, win with Pogo Hoppers. Overall, I think the future of Rogue looks pretty bright in the new meta. That's why already 4 different Rogue decks, and I could have built even more, because Togwaggle could be combined with something, Thief Rogue could be a slower build as well, Pirates, Mechs, Togwaggles, Thievery. Combining all of these in different ways is possible, so Rogue looks like it's really something that a deck builder can enjoy, because there are lots of different packages and you can try to find ways to trim them, make them smaller so that they can fit together in the same decks and just make really innovative solutions. I hope that these 4 theory crafts help you see the overall ideas and that you can build on those yourself as well. It's a great time to be playing Hearthstone, and I will be covering every single class on this channel, so stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.